The Fantastic Four First Steps is in theaters now, and we are breaking down the post-credit scenes. Marvel has introduced one of the most important characters in the MCU in the Fantastic Four First Steps, a character that is going to have an extremely important role to play in Avengers Doomsday and in Avengers Secret Wars, and also this character will be key in the reset of the MCU and the new beginning that will bring forth the new X-Men in the MCU. This character is Franklin Richards, the son of Reed and Sue. And as you saw in the movie, he has tremendous power. So much that Galactus wanted him, so he could hunger no more. And as we see in the post-credit scene for the Fantastic Four First Steps, Galactus is not the only one who wants Franklin. Dr. Doom wants him as well. So let's break down the post-credit scene and talk about why this character is so important. The Fantastic Four post-credit scene starts off by telling us that it is 4 years later, which means baby Franklin has now grown up a little bit. He can talk a little bit and he can understand stories, and his mother is reading a book to him. The book is The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle, which many of you are probably familiar with. They finish the book and Sue says to her son Franklin, "You want another book, don't you?" And he says, "Yeah." So she says, "All right, back in a second, babe." When she gets up, she asks Herbie if he has seen the book that Franklin loves. Then Herbie grabs the book The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin, a book about evolution, and Franklin in the comics is an Omega level mutant. So you could argue that Franklin is kind of further along with evolution because he is a mutant of immense power. At least that's how he is in the comics, and clearly in the MCU, he is a being that does have immense power. And it seems like Franklin, at his age, is still insanely smart because Sue says, "Not that one, we did that one yesterday. I know he loves it, but no." Now, of course, this could mean that he simply likes some possible pictures in it, like some of the bird pictures, but I would argue, considering who he is, that he actually probably does have a decent understanding, at least in his mind, maybe not vocally, but he does have a very advanced mind, and in the comics, he can actually create pocket universes as a child. So even as a child in the comics, he was incredibly powerful and smart. But she is looking for a more fun book, so she gets A Fly Went by Mike McClintock, another book that a lot of people might know. As Sue grabs the book and starts to walk back to Franklin, we actually hear a noise, and it's not just the music, it sounds like a teleportation device. It makes sort of a humming noise. Yeah. And then the music does drastically change. It gets more mysterious and ominous, and fun fact, this song is titled Doom ? I'm Ron Burgundy? Which is fitting because as she walks back and makes her way around the TV/fireplace, she can see a hooded figure. Of course, the hood that this person is wearing is green, and we look down to see a mask in this person's hand. And of course, this is Dr. Doom. And although we don't see his face, we are assuming that this is Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom. Marvel, of course, has officially announced that Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the MCU not as Iron Man, although I'm sure we'll probably get a cameo of a variant Iron Man played by Robert Downey Jr. at some point in time. But no, he is not returning to primarily be Iron Man. He is returning to be Victor Von Doom, aka Dr. Doom, the main character of Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, and the villain. And Dr. Doom is there because he wants Franklin. Now, what's interesting is that we see Franklin touching the face of Victor Von Doom. Victor has a very scarred face. And the most well-known story about how Victor gets a scarred face in the comics has to do with the death of his mother and Mephisto, a character who was recently introduced in the Ironheart series. Mephisto is a demon who rules over the Hell Dimension, and in the comics, when Victor Von Doom's mother, Cynthia Von Doom, dies, Mephisto takes her soul to the Hell Realm. So Victor tries to build a device that will allow him to communicate with his mother, but it goes wrong and it explodes in his face, scarring his face. And I've seen a lot of comments on our other video that we did talking about the post-credit scene of people saying that perhaps Franklin in this scene is possibly healing his face. Because let's be honest, Marvel Studios isn't paying Robert Downey Jr. over $100 million for both Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars to cover up his face most of the time. However, the scars on Dr. Doom's face are a pretty big part of who he is. But there is actually a premise for this in the comics of Doctor Doom's face getting healed in Avengers Secret Wars, the 2015 version, which is the version that Marvel Studios is basically taking inspiration from for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. At the very end of it all, as they are trying to restore the entire multiverse, essentially resetting it like the MCU is going to do, and we'll get to that in a bit, Doctor Doom at the very end takes off his mask and reveals that his face has been healed. He no longer has scars. Perhaps we're going to get kind of a variant scene of this in the movies, or perhaps Franklin, by touching Doctor Doom's face, is able to heal him. But if he did that, would you like it or not? Go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Now, one thing that's not super certain at this point in time is if this Doctor Doom actually comes from this universe, the 828 universe. Now, when the world leaders meet at the Future Foundation, there was a Doctor Doom Easter egg. We saw an empty seat with a sign for Latveria. That is where Victor Von Doom is from, and ultimately goes on to be the ruler of Latveria. This seat could be for Victor Von Doom, the ruler of Latveria in this universe, or it could simply just be a little Easter egg, a little nod to Doctor Doom, because obviously he comes in the post-credit scene. We're not sure at this point in time, but I do like the idea of him being from this universe, the specific 828 universe that the Fantastic Four are from, because we can then get a lot of backstory between Reed and Doom, because in the 2015 Secret Wars, the final battle comes down to Reed and Doctor Doom. And Doctor Doom is not only one of the most iconic and popular Marvel villains of all time, but he's specifically the biggest Fantastic Four villain there is. So I would really like that backstory between Reed and Doom. Plus, going into Avengers Doomsday, when a lot of people aren't going to know who Victor Von Doom is, Mr. Fantastic could fill everybody in. Plus, not to mention, Doom over time has a very complicated relationship with the Fantastic Four. In fact, in the comics, when Sue is pregnant with her second child, Valeria, she is having labor complications, and Victor actually saves her and the child. And because he saves the child, he names her Valeria, naming her after a woman that he formerly loved. And moving forward, there would be a lot of deep stories with him and that child. So although he is one of the Fantastic Four's biggest villains, he's not always a complete villain to them. But why does Doctor Doom want Franklin Richards? We'll break it down in detail, but first, make this summer your best season yet with Factor, my partners for today's video. I think most of y'all know by now that I absolutely love and live by Factor meals. Factor delivers nutritious 2-minute meals that make eating well the easiest it's ever been. Just heat it up and enjoy. It gives you the time to do what you want to do. Instead of spending hours a week meal prepping, Factor arrives fresh and ready to eat, perfect for any active lifestyle. And if you're busy like me, Factor is a game changer. They take the time out of prepping and make it easy to eat healthy. With 45 weekly menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. Choose from Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more. All tasting great. I personally love Italian, and their different pasta options are fantastic. Factor powers your day with satisfying breakfasts, on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, and guilt-free snacks and desserts. They even have wellness shots as well. This summer, make eating healthy easy with Factor. To get started, go to factormeals.com/CosmicWonder50 off and use code CosmicWonder50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code CosmicWonder50 off at factormeals.com/CosmicWonder50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Well, we have already seen that Franklin has the ability to essentially resurrect people, and he actually does this in the comics as well. In fact, he resurrects Galactus in one of the most epic scenes there possibly is from the comics, and he makes Galactus his herald. So clearly Franklin has immense, incredible power, which is the primary reason that Doctor Doom wants him. But what is Doctor Doom up to? Well, again, they're taking inspiration from the 2015 Secret Wars. And the story leading up to that shows Doctor Doom actually trying to save the multiverse. He finds out that the Beyonders, godlike beings, have put a molecule man in every single universe, and they are basically bombs, and they plan to set them all off at the same time, destroying the multiverse. Doctor Doom and another Molecule Man, in an attempt to stop this, they start to kill Molecule Men in each universes. However, unfortunately, this starts to cause incursions to happen. As we learned, incursions are what happen when two universes collide with each other, destroying one or both of them. So unfortunately, while Doom and Molecule Man try to save the multiverse, they ultimately realize that they can't. So what does Doctor Doom do? He attacks attacks the Beyonders with Molecule Man and Doctor Strange actually, and via Molecule Man, he steals their powers and creates Battleworld, one world at the end of the multiverse, nothing else left, just one world that consists of a bunch of different universes put together. He literally creates this world using the godlike powers that he got from the Beyonders, and he rules over it, becoming God Emperor Doom. So Doom wanting Franklin for his powers makes a lot of sense because we probably won't get the Beyonders in the MCU. And Dr. Doom taking Franklin probably ties into the post-credit scene for the Thunderbolts, where we see the Fantastic Four ship entering the Earth 616 universe, or the Sacred Timeline. They most likely go there in search for their son. And what's very interesting is that I think they might end up in the Earth 616 universe specifically because of Tony Stark. Again, it was very intentional, Marvel Studios bringing back Robert Downey Jr. to play Doom. We know they're going to talk about the fact that he looks exactly like Tony Stark. So maybe if the Fantastic Four haven't actually seen Doom before and Sue gets a good look at Doom in this post-credit scene, she sees his face and it looks exactly like Tony Stark, so they track down a Tony Stark universe and go there, even though he's not actually alive anymore in our universe. But we also know the X-Men universe is going to be involved in Avengers Doomsday. Many of the X-Men have already been announced to be returning, like Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. And Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, has already confirmed that all of the teams will get together to go up against Doom, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, the Wakandans, and any other heroes that we might see in the movie. And ultimately, we know that this does lead to the TVA and Loki. If the multiverse is going to get destroyed in Avengers Doomsday, leading to Battleworld and Avengers Secret Wars, well, then that unfortunately means that Loki has to get dethroned. He is holding the entire multiverse together right now, and if it's going to get destroyed, that means he either gets kicked off of that throne, and that's enough to kind of separate him from all the strands of the universes, or perhaps Doctor Doom kills him. I hope that's not the case, but according to some rumors that we've heard, the Avengers race to get to Loki before Doctor Doom does when they find out their plans, and they all fight against him to keep him from getting Loki. Despite what happens, we're pretty sure Avengers Doomsday ends with the multiverse being destroyed and Victor Von Doom creating Battleworld. Then we go into Avengers Secret Wars, where we have God Emperor Doom, and now Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, has officially confirmed that Avengers Secret Wars will reset the main MCU timeline. So we'll essentially have a new universe moving forward after Avengers Secret Wars, and that's where Franklin comes in once again. Like I mentioned, Franklin in the comics, even as a baby, could create universes. And in fact, at the end of the Secret Wars comics, how they reset the entire multiverse, how they restore it, is actually via Franklin creating the universes. And since they made it a point in the first Fantastic Four movie that we got in the MCU to already introduce Reed and Sue's son, Franklin Richards, and make a point of how powerful he actually is, and make it a point that Doctor Doom actually comes to take him for himself, I'm pretty sure that's how the reset happens. They use the power of Franklin Richards to restore at least one universe, the new one that will be in, that has the X-Men in it, with the Fantastic Four, with the Avengers, and any other character that Marvel can use, which is basically every character now. So the Fantastic Four first steps really did set up so much with the MCU. So much for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, and so much for the new MCU that we'll be going into after Secret Wars. So go ahead and let me know what you thought of the Fantastic Four first steps and what you thought about this very specific Doom post-credit scene. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Marvel videos. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.